Coronation Street's Debbie Webster is shaken to the core next week when she convinces herself that a gun has been set off at the Chariot Square Hotel. The day begins with Debbie waking up from an awful nightmare that forces her to relive a recent gun ordeal at the garage, which involved her closest family members. Show bosses have revealed that Carl and Kevin Webster go head-to-head in a dramatic showdown next week, which culminates in a dangerous tussle. When Carl pulls out a gun and Kevin frantically tries to grab it, all hell breaks loose and there could be terrible consequences when the weapon is fired. In classic Debbie fashion, she puts on a brave face and goes about business as usual after the incident. This includes arguing with Tracy Barlow over a flower order. When there's confusion in the mix, Tracy spitefully blames Debbie's dementia for what's happened. Later in the day, Debbie chinwags with a couple who are throwing a party at the hotel to reveal the sex of their baby. She makes a faux pas when she lets slip that their little one is a boy, which ruins the surprise. Mortified Ryan Connor is quick to apologize, just as a nearby balloon suddenly pops. Certain that she's heard gunfire, Debbie is beside herself with fear. Is Debbie on a downward spiral after recent events? Speaking to us earlier this year, Sue Devaney, who plays Debbie, explained, "I think there is a long way to go for Debbie. There's a lot more fun to be had. You do see her deteriorating and that's really upsetting, but you still see the Debbie that I love to play, the fun Debbie. It's Debbie in all her glory. You see her with her friends and that's lovely. She's doing all the things that she's always wanted to do in life." The cobbles of Coronation Street are set to become the stage for yet another gripping and emotionally charged storyline, as Debbie Webster finds herself at the center of a terrifying new ordeal that threatens to shake Weatherfield to its core. Known for its powerful blend of drama, realism, and emotional storytelling, the long-running ITV soap is preparing to push Debbie into one of her most challenging arcs yet, one that will test her strength, her relationships, and her sense of safety in a world that suddenly feels far more dangerous than ever before. Debbie Webster has always been portrayed as a character with resilience and sharp business instincts. As the owner of the prestigious hotel in Weatherfield, she has built a reputation for being in control, composed under pressure, and unafraid to stand her ground. However, this new storyline promises to strip away that confidence and expose vulnerabilities she has long kept hidden beneath her professional exterior. The trouble begins subtly, almost imperceptibly, with small, unsettling incidents that Debbie initially dismisses as coincidence. A misplaced item in her office. A strange message left on her phone with no clear sender. A staff member reporting an unknown figure lingering around the hotel corridors late at night. At first, Debbie chalks it up to stress, perhaps even internal staff drama. But as the incidents escalate, it becomes clear that something far more sinister is unfolding. The tension builds when Debbie starts noticing that her movements are being watched. Security footage from the hotel reveals brief but chilling glimpses of someone who doesn't appear to belong, always just out of focus, always vanishing before they can be identified. The sense of being observed begins to take a psychological toll, and for someone like Debbie, who prides herself on control and order, the uncertainty becomes unbearable. What makes this storyline particularly gripping is the way it isolates Debbie. Despite being surrounded by familiar faces in Weatherfield, she begins to feel increasingly alone in her fear. Even those closest to her, including family and longtime friends, initially struggle to understand the seriousness of what she is experiencing. Some suggest she may be overreacting or allowing stress to cloud her judgment, which only deepens her frustration and fear. However, things take a darker turn when the threats become personal. Debbie receives a message that contains information only someone close to her could possibly know. This revelation immediately raises the stakes, suggesting that the threat may not be an external stranger, but someone operating within her own circle, or worse, someone with deep ties to her business empire. As paranoia grows, Debbie begins tightening security at the hotel, installing additional surveillance and restricting access to sensitive areas. But even these precautions fail to stop the creeping sense that she is not safe. Guests begin to notice unusual disturbances, staff become uneasy, and rumors start spreading, putting the reputation of her carefully built establishment at risk. The storyline is expected to explore not only the external threat, but also Debbie's internal struggle as she grapples with fear, distrust, and the pressure to maintain a public image of control. For a character who has always been a pillar of strength, being pushed into a position of vulnerability marks a dramatic shift. The emotional weight of the storyline will likely focus on her psychological unraveling as she tries to separate reality from suspicion. As the mystery deepens, suspicion is set to fall on multiple characters, each with potential motives. Long-standing rivalries, business disputes, and personal grudges all come into play, creating a web of tension that keeps both Debbie and viewers guessing. Coronation Street is known for its layered storytelling, and this arc is expected to weave together multiple subplots that all feed into the central question: who is targeting Debbie Webster and why? Meanwhile, Debbie's relationships begin to suffer under the strain. Her decision-making becomes more erratic as fear influences her judgment. She begins pushing away those trying to help her, convinced that trusting the wrong person could make her situation even more dangerous. This isolation only heightens the tension, leaving her more exposed at the very moment she needs support the most. As the storyline reaches its midpoint, the threat escalates from psychological intimidation to physical danger. A late-night incident at the hotel forces Debbie into a terrifying confrontation that leaves her shaken and finally forces those around her to acknowledge the seriousness of the situation. The once safe and controlled environment of her business becomes a place of fear and uncertainty. The writers are expected to build toward a dramatic climax in which the identity of the culprit is finally revealed. Whether it is a trusted colleague, a business rival, or an unexpected outsider, the revelation will undoubtedly have lasting consequences for Debbie and the wider Coronation Street community. Relationships will be fractured, trust will be broken, and the ripple effects will extend far beyond a single storyline. What makes this plot particularly compelling is its psychological depth. Rather than relying solely on physical threats, it delves into the fear of the unknown and the erosion of trust in everyday life. It also allows viewers to see a different side of Debbie Webster, a character who is often composed and commanding, now forced to confront fear in its most personal form. As Coronation Street continues to evolve its storytelling, this new terror for Debbie promises to be one of the standout arcs of the year. It blends suspense, emotional drama, and character development in a way that keeps audiences invested and eager for each new twist. In true soap opera fashion, nothing is as it seems in Weatherfield, and as Debbie Webster soon discovers, the greatest danger may not come from outside her world, but from within it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Coronation Street Scoop News Update.